Hello and welcome to my presentation for Pitch 2 of Be the Ball. Be the Ball is a first-person view bowling game where you play as the ball. You don't just move on the same axis as the ball, you actually rotate with the ball. And you also navigate a lane with a whole bunch of obstacles to knock all the pins down and get the best score. The genre of this game is silly, fun, cartoony. The platform is PC and the rating is E. The game engine that we will be using is Unity. Target audience is ages 13 to 50, and it's people who generally like rage games or games that are difficult to control, kind of weird like that. Gameplay synopsis. So the first thing that you'll be doing when you play the game is you'll be launching the ball to get a first initial burst of speed. You'll navigate the obstacles in your lane, knock down all the pins. You'll have 2 tries and then you're scored, just like in bowling. The player's goal is to avoid obstacles. They have to roll fast and they have to hit lots of pins. Here's what the gameplay loop looks like. You're going to navigate the menus, launch the ball just like we discussed before, navigate the lane, knock over the pins, and then when all those pins have been knocked down, then it'll show your score. Then you'll have the option to replay the level, go to the next level, or go to the main menu. Core systems of the game, you'll have the ball movement, you'll have lane obstacles, there are lane themes as well, and then the scoring system. Player actions. So this has changed a little bit from last time. You can move the camera horizontally but not vertically. You can move the ball, but the ball will only move using W and S. You can't use A and D to move, and this is to just tighten up the controls so that it makes it a little bit harder for the player to mess things up and make it more likely that they get motion sick. There is also a dash ability that will make the ball go super fast, so that way the player can get through obstacles or just get a better time. The art style that we'll be going for is low poly, super bright and colorful. The major selling point of this game is that it's a totally different camera view and it has obstacles, whereas most other bowling games are very vanilla where you throw the ball, you kind of maybe aim it and angle it, spin it maybe, and there's nothing in the way on the lane. The scope of this game is about 40 levels is what I'm thinking, about 10 levels per theme. I anticipate it'll take 2 to 4 months, just because this game doesn't have a lot to do with in terms of programming. The resources I've decided are kind of low on most ends except for the designers and the artists. Since there's 40 levels to design, that's a lot of level design. And then artists will also have a little bit of work because there's only a couple of asset packs that I found just to kind of fill in some decorations. But there's also going to be some things specifically in regards to bowling that they will have to make. Here's what the backlog is going to look like. So we're going to go over the needed softwares, the story, art assets, lane obstacles, lane themes, scoring system, pickups, achievements, leaderboards, and motion sickness. Generally, most of this is the same from last time. There's just a few differences that I've made. Story is the same. I don't have a story for a bowling ball. If anyone wants to come up with a story for a bowling ball, I'm more than happy to hear it. Here are the art assets that I've found so far. Most of it is going to be environmental, but some of these we might be able to take and turn into like static barriers or moving barriers, things like that. Otherwise, some of the things that the artists will have to make is like a bowling ball, bowling pin, some of our base collectibles, and things like that. Here are the softwares that we will be using. For the lane obstacles, we have a static barrier, we have a launch pad, we have a moving barrier, which is slow moving in a predictable manner, kind of like Goombas in Mario Kart. We also have a punch wall or punch pad, which is a little bit faster moving, and when it hits the player, it's meant to launch them a little bit. We also have moving platforms, and this is where the player can stand on them and it'll actually help them move from place to place, maybe to get across a gap. We have 4 lane themes that I currently have thought of. There is a traditional bowling alley, such as this. There is a summer theme, a winter theme, and a lava land theme. Each of these themes might have something that determines what kind of lane obstacles that the player might find in the way. For the winter theme, for example, they might find some ice that the ball might slip on or some moguls as bumps. But for the most part, these themes are just aesthetic. Here's what the scoring system will look like. It'll be the amount of time that the player took to complete their lane, the number of pins they hit, any coins or collectibles that they picked up along the way, and all of that will equal their high score. So for the pickups, we'll have some base collectibles. They might be in the form of coins, gems. I think it might be kind of cool to make them popcorn like you might see in a bowling alley. There are also some power-ups that I would like to leave in the lanes. All of these things are of course optional for the player to pick up, but they just might help add to their score or give them certain things. So there might be a no rotation power-up which stops the camera rotation and makes it a little bit easier for them to maneuver. There might be a mini-map that shows up in the corner to display to the player where they are from a bird's eye view. Maybe a rocket jump, maybe some extra time, or maybe something that's even a little bit harder than what they currently have, and it inverts their controls. I would also like to add some achievements into this game, Steam achievements specifically, just because this is one of those games where I feel like it's easy to put them in. It's a bowling game, so there's a ton of achievements that are already laid out there, such as strikes, doubles, turkeys, spares. There's a ton of different things that we can put into achievements. One of the other things that I want to do is an online leaderboard. It gets players competitive, gets them replaying to get a better score. Now, some of the things the major thing that this game has to worry about is motion sickness. That's the major risk. So that's what I spent most of my time trying to mitigate in my prototype. Some of the things I did was I added a fixed point. That's what this smiley weird guy here is. There have been some studies that say that looking at a fixed point on the horizon, usually, like on a when on a roller coaster, will help players or will help people or riders not feel so motion sickness. So that's why I put this fixed point here so that when the player's playing, they can focus on this if they would like. I've also simplified the controls. So as I said before, the camera can only move horizontally, and the player can also only move using W and S. The movement, because of this, the movement is a little bit more predictable. It's a star because, I mean, it's still rotating. It's still kind of hard. But the player will only somersault. They don't do cartwheels. They don't do movements besides just in a somersaulting area. The spin rate is adjustable, as you can see here. There's a movement speed which is separate from the rotation speed. So the player can have a choice of if they want their camera to rotate slower or faster, which might help them with that motion sickness as well. Something else that we'll have to keep in mind as well is we really want to match the audio to the visuals. There are other articles that say that when your audio and your visuals are off sync, that's also when motion sickness tends to happen. So that is my presentation for pitch 2 of Be the Ball. Thank you for listening, and I would appreciate any feedback.